Well, hello everyone. This is Data-Driven Formula One with Patrick Henz and Ganna Pogrebna. Hi, Patrick.
Hello, Ganna. Hello, all. And nice to be back with a very special episode from Track to Triumph. We are asking ourselves, is there a life beyond Formula One?
Right, and this is an episode that we promised to do a while ago when we were discussing Carlos Reutemann. And this is about Formula One drivers who actually have a life outside Formula One. Well, primarily we will talk about retired drivers who retired and went into a completely different field and succeeded there. But we also have several existing drivers as well in this mix. Of course, I think many existing drivers these days have their own business, mostly, advertisement, right? Because of all the advertisement that they do while they compete. But some have more than that. And we're not going to obviously discuss all current drivers, but we have a couple in the mix today.
Exactly. And so what we excluded here are people who are now commenting races, racing in other leagues. So we really wanted to focus on people who did something completely different. And as we did the preparation investigations, I think some example had been quite surprising to us. At least
I mean, I was actually surprised so many people do sustainable business, and there are quite a few. But I mean, there was some that were unsurprising, like luxury cars or luxury airplanes, right? Private airplanes we had. So let's have a look. I mean.
In the preparation, one driver especially surprised me, and I will come to this when we come to this person.
Brilliant.
We start quite back in time, and also a little bit as an insider information. We always plan to do one day a holiday special season at the end of the year. Around Christmas never worked out because we are always quite busy at that time. And somebody we would have included here is Giancarlo Baghetti, because he had been born on Christmas Day 1934 in Milan, Italy.
Yeah, was very remarkable driver, right? And drove for a number of constructors. Well, back in the day, it was basically, still gentleman driving, right? So technically speaking, just kind of had cars from different constructors, like Ferrari and ATS, which is the Italian ATS, and Brabham and Lotus. So yeah. Really cool guy.
And ITS, we discussed it in our episode about that year. We had in the end of the 1960s the big walkout of important engineers at Ferrari. And there are two drivers at that time, Phil Hill and Giancarlo Baghetti. As they had better relations with the people leaving the company than with the ones who stayed, also left Ferrari to join the new company RTS, which have been founded by the former Ferrari employees. Luckily for them, a quite unsuccessful project, just 1 year in Formula One, and this I think destroyed his ambitions inside Formula One, because he had the opportunity to stay at Ferrari, and he was at that time a real big talent. But with joining the Rebels, unfortunately, he couldn't secure a good seat in Formula One after. So his big year, yes.
Yeah, I just want to say that, in sports analytics, I think actually, he's basically, why he was quite unique because there are very few drivers that won their first race, and he actually won his first race, which was really cool. But I just think, when we kind of are talking about sports analytics, we often discuss kind of skill versus luck. And, some people are just really lucky. And I think he got to some extent lucky with his first win. And so we shouldn't actually read too much into it. I mean, of course, he was a talented driver, but at the same time, there is also the luck component there. And in sports analytics, I guess the main thing is when we are considering a performance of an athlete or a team, we're always trying to increase the factors that depend on skill and decrease the factors that depend on luck. And in this case, we just have kind of too few observations to say whether it was luck or it was skill.
Yeah, and I think Formula One drivers are mostly success seekers, and this group of people, they over-focus the importance of their own skills in opposite that they just had luck. These are normally people who look out for jobs like being drivers. If we're speaking about companies, mostly these are the people who would go to the sales department. In opposite to problem avoiders who normally would go in a position like accounting or something. They have practically more or less the same day by day. But you are right, he was winning his very first Grand Prix. In fact, in 1961, he won three Grand Prix. Two had been non-official Formula One races, and just one had been the official one. And that's why Italian press called him the phenomenon. And one famous quote later in his life is, "I should have retired at the end of 1961. Then everyone would have remembered me as a phenomenon." And to be fair, besides luck or not luck, the 1962 Ferrari car was really non-competitive. So he had a bad 62, but also the 62 car he was driving had not been competitive at that time.
Yeah, that's right. And I think you probably wouldn't know Giancarlo Baghetti if you were kind of living outside Italy. But you definitely know his work. Why that is? Because apart from becoming a journalist and a photographer and working with motor brands and car brands and fashion brands in fashion, he also was a really brilliant marketer, right? And probably if you even I remember some of the promotional materials from Fiat, like promotional videos and all that. And he's actually the mastermind behind them. So he actually is kind of the father of modern sort of automotive advertisement, you can say, because back in the day it wasn't really done. And he had to basically, so these original ideas, they all came from him. And so now when you are watching a car advertisement, it's probably using some of the things that he that he came up with back in the day. Yeah.
Right. So just remembering his career in Formula One, 1961, starting with Ferrari. Then he continued with Ferrari. Due to the workouts, he joined the Rebel team, RTS, very unsuccessfully, but also his colleague Phil Hill, who at least had been Formula One champion with Ferrari, also didn't really had been much better. I think also 0 points for Phil Hill. Then changed to BRM, but without luck. And in the later years, he had been like a guest driver, 1965, 66, 67 for the Italian Grand Prix. At that time, at some Grand Prix, the teams invited some local driver to get more attention. And here important, even if he joined the Rebel team in 1966, Ferrari gave him the opportunity to drive the Ferrari 246 for the Italian Grand Prix in Monza.
Yeah, so I think he maintained kind of good relationships, never, despite the despite the kind of the walkout, and yeah, that's also kind of says a lot about his character.
Yeah. Yes, and what you see here is the car which he drove in 1961 and also in 1962, practically without any changes, the famous shark nose Ferrari 156. For many people, one of the most beautiful cars ever, but also unfortunately other famous drivers, as Graf Berge von Tripp said, the fatal accident with that car.
That's right.
Okay, then I think we make a big jump right into 70s, 1980s.
Yeah, and we discussed this guy in detail, Jody Scheckter, from South Africa,
Right.
from Cape Town. Yeah.
Yep. Somebody also who changed quite significantly in Formula One. He started as a quite brutal driver. I mean, they even suspended him for some races because of causing accidents. But then also, I think with the experience, having friends died in the sport, he completely changed his attitude and his driving style.
Yeah.
Very successful, especially for the small Walter Wolf racing team. That's why he gained the seat at Ferrari, where he won the 1979 championship.
Yeah, we have a special episode about Jody Scheckter, and we also have obviously discussed the 1979 season. So please find those episodes and have a look. And again, I just want to remind those of you who just joined us that this is a podcast. It's not meant to be a YouTube video, but we do show quite a lot of visual materials. So that's why we invite you to join us on YouTube or Spotify. And as usual, we appreciate subscriptions and likes and comments, of course.
Always welcome. And here his career, 1972 until 1980, starting at McLaren, then joining Tyrrell, Walter Wolf Racing, becoming champion in 1979 Ferrari. And his last year also at Ferrari in 1980, he retired after a very bad year, a completely non-competitive Ferrari 312 T5. And he's decided that's enough, let's do something different.
Right. And onto something completely different. So this is what Jody looks these days. Looks like in his retirement.
Yeah, I mean, he looks quite happy with his life, if you would interpret this smile here. And a lot of green plants behind him. So he's one of the guys, as you mentioned in the beginning, who had been investing into sustainability.
Yeah, that's right. So we again, we've already discussed him separately, but yeah, he basically owns a sustainable farm, which is very successful business as well. And that's actually very hard to do because it's, if you into kind of sustainable ways of development, of farming development, that actually costs a lot before it starts to provide profit. But he managed to do it really well, and it's a reasonably old business, and it's still going strong.
Yeah. So you see here some of the famous products he's offering, and you can check it out on the website. And let's see, produce about I don't know if they also have a web shop, but if you're interested, check out and maybe you can buy these products yourself. Buffalo mozzarella, buffalo lami, buffalo milk ice cream, buffalo gouda, and I think he also has a small winery. And speaking about wine, we not included it into this episode today, but there is a number of drivers who are also now active in having a winery. For example, Mario Andretti and Jean Alesi. So just to mention, even if we not discuss it here in detail.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that well, hopefully the wine is not from Buffalo, but but joking aside, yeah, I mean there are definitely a lot of really cool green products, and it is, you know, it is a difficult thing to maintain a farm. I can tell you this because in my current university where I work, a lot of people do sustainable agriculture, and it's very difficult to make it profitable. So yeah, I mean, big round of applause to Jody Scheckter, who actually managed to pull it off.
Next one in our list, I think he does not come as a big surprise as most of us. We know he had been famous Formula One champion, but also most people know about his airline.
Yeah, so we discussed Niki Lauda separately. We have a separate episode on him, and we discussed his post Formula One career. And of course, to many of you, he is known as someone who commented a lot on Formula One, and especially if you are if you're a frequent viewer of the German coverage of Formula One on RTL or you know, other channels. So he would normally be present there and comment on races all the way up until his death in 2019.
Yeah, and also practically until at the end, until his death, he had been active in the management, first at Ferrari, then at the Mercedes-Benz Formula One team. And I think he was one of the people there who had been responsible bringing Lewis Hamilton to Mercedes. So he was also a quite good manager.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, this as a consultant, as advisor, he's very, very accomplished, and well, he's a three-time world champion in Formula One. Let's not forget about that.
Yes. 1975, 77, and 84. First two times with the Ferrari, and 84 with the McLaren.
Yeah.
Coming to the topic of our episode today, he became interested already as he was still with Ferrari as a driver, with aviation. I mean, if you saw the Rush movie, for example, you know he had quite early his private jet where he was also flying himself as the pilot. And this also maybe had been aligned with his character, not being a very emotional driver, always at the limit, but also always a little bit more controlled, not completely 100% at the limit, but sufficiently enough to win the championship.
That's right. So he also owned not just one airline, but three. Well, I mean, he was rebranding them, right? So Lauda Air, Niki, and Lauda, and that got sold to Swiss Air, wasn't it? I think.
No, it was not Air Berlin.
Air Berlin,
German
yeah,
airline.
Air Berlin, correct. Sorry, I always mix up. Apologies to Swiss Air and Air Berlin. But I definitely flew Air Berlin quite a lot, I have to say, when I was living in Germany. And yeah, and also flew Swiss Air when it was still alive. Because then I guess it got taken over by Lufthansa, right? And I don't know now, does it exist as a separate? Yeah, pardon me, I'm not very knowledgeable about aviation companies, but I believe that they were, even if they run as a separate brand, that's basically Lufthansa, I think. And tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. So please write us some comments on this.
Yeah, I mean, he was really highly involved. Bombardier, one of the manufacturers, he had been here the brand ambassador, but also he still had been involved into Formula One again. 2001, he had been the team principal for the Jaguar Formula One team. Maybe not his most successful part of in his curriculum, because you may say that the team was not really successful.
Yeah, and meanwhile, I found the information about Swiss Air. It is a separate brand, but it is a part of Lufthansa Group. So yeah, good. Well, the cool thing about flying Swiss Air is they always give you chocolate when you're on board.
Yeah, cool. but to be fair, and you may remember this, in Air Berlin, you always received a chocolate heart when you are
oh, really?
leaving.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot about that, but yeah, cool.
Oh, 1-1
Yeah,
is chocolate.
That's
okay. And we already discussed it. He was very well-known doing the commentaries after the Formula One races at RTL, who showed the races live in German TV. Always great to listen to him, because he was always very direct person, thinking, saying what he was thinking, which sometimes brought him a little bit into trouble. But I mean, always very honest analysis of the race, analysis of the drivers.
Yeah, I mean, I really like to watch. I mean, I specifically was constantly looking for RTL because he would give a very nice technical commentary. Obviously, because of he's very knowledgeable about engineering and mechanics, and yeah, he would actually explain a lot, like about the advantages of different makes, which was really cool to watch. And I don't think we have that type of quality of comments anymore, because I mean, there are obviously former drivers who are doing the commentary, but not at his level, not at his level of technical detail, which was always very, very professional and very, interesting.
Yeah, I completely agree about that. Okay, and so at Mercedes, at the Formula One team, he not only had been a consultant, but he was one of the co-owners, owning 10%, and he was one doing the negotiations with Lewis Hamilton, which we all remember was a quite good idea to sign. Next one, the man who started or who caused this episode, because I remember as we spoke about Carlos Reutemann, we discussed we wanted to do an episode analyzing a little bit the drivers who did something completely different after finishing their career. Carlos Alberto.
Yeah, and so I just want to say, I'm not gonna say what career, but this guy had an amazing career after Formula One. Probably one of the most surprising careers. Yeah.
Right, and I mean, he was very charismatic driver, which of course helped him for this later career. And one of the drivers who had been close winning a championship, but well, never completely made it. But 146 entries for teams like Brabham, Ferrari, Lotus, Williams, and 12 victories. So you see here his career starting 1972 until 85. And again, he had been very close, 81, second. And and I mean, it is just a speculation, and we did it as we spoke about him. If he would not have decided early in '82 to leave Williams, I think in his second race, I think he had a good opportunity to winning that year the championship due to all the sad happenings around the '82 championship.
That's right. But when he exited,
Yeah.
let's see, where did he go? Yes, he went into politics and he
Right.
became the governor of Santa Fe.
Exactly, twice from 1991 until 1995, and then later again 1992 until 2003. So quite long in responsible positions in Argentina. This important here also to consider. Argentina already at that time had been in quite difficult political situation. I remember a high number of different presidents which have been re-elected after only months. So it was been quite unstable from a political point at that time. So he was quite the opposite, a stable factor in the province of Santa Fe, and due to this, Santa Fe had been a little bit different than the rest of the countries, and he could manage to keep it that way. So Santa Fe as a region was not that highly affected to the economic crisis, if I'm correct, and I could be correct because I'm not that in politics in Argentina.
Yeah, I just want to say, if you're listening to us and you are from Argentina and you happen to know more about Carlos Reutemann as a politician, please tell us, because obviously we can only we only know what is out there in the public domain, which could be quite complimentary. So I mean, he seemed to have been a decent governor from sort of the results, and from the fact that he was re-elected is probably also a factor. But yeah, do tell us if we are misinterpreting this, or maybe something interesting about his career that we're not capturing here.
Yeah, I mean, in general, and this is valid for the whole America's politics, is a very difficult topic. So I'm completely aware that a lot of people have a complete different opinion about Carlos Reutemann as a politician. Sorry. But anyway, I think at least for his supporters, he did a very good job. And I think at some point he also had been asked or suggested becoming a candidate for the president of Argentina, but he never went that way, but stayed in his state of Santa Fe. With this, we stay in South America and going to Brazil, Nelson Piquet.
Nelson Piquet. Yeah, so also legendary driver, 3-time world champion. Yeah,
Yep.
extraordinary career with
Extraordinary
again many different teams, right?
Right, and a little bit of similarity to Carlos Reutemann, also a character, and I think soon we will do a special episode about him. This has some controversies related to his political position, to say it that way. But anyway, an exceptional driver, 23 victories in 207 races, so he really had been driving a long time, and we will see this on the next page, which led to 3 championships, one in 81, 83, and 1987. And I remember especially his last 2 years at Benetton, as he did something which a lot of people considered completely crazy. I think he went there with a very low salary, or practically with no fixed salary, just getting a lot of money if he would score points. And surprisingly, even surprisingly for Benetton, I think he became third in the first year, so he had been quite expensive for a team. Also in the second year, but then his star declined a little bit as his new partner had been Michael Schumacher. And we know where this went with Benetton.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so let's see. What about Nelson Piquet related business?
Oh, that's Nelson Piquet.
Yep, that's Nelson Piquet. And his post-career, he has been a relevant shareholder of a Brazilian company called Autotrack. It's a company which which includes some kind of telemetry and tracking system, which enables you to track your car, which especially in Latin America, and I remember this from living in Mexico, a topic, as you may have something like this in your personal car, as the chance that somebody will steal your car at one point is in time is quite high, and having something like this inside the car may help you to find it later, and also it helps you a little bit to keep the costs of your car insurance down.
Yes, brilliant.
Yeah, and I don't know how the company is doing as the technology becomes cheaper. I mean, you know, the Apple discs which you can put on your chain or on your dog, so where especially if your dog escaped, so you know where he or she went. So I don't know if this new development affected them, yes or no. But anyway, if you're interested, you see here the link. Just go there and take a look yourself. And with this, we come to Terry Boutzen, which you already mentioned.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, I do remember him as a Benetton driver primarily. And yeah, this is a Belgian driver. And to be honest, I mean, we probably all not so much remember him as a driver, but if you happen to be in Monaco every time when you read a business magazine, his face will be there, and normally sitting on a plane. Not just the face, but Thierry is sitting on a plane, but you know, his face would be in the magazine. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, he was one of the drivers who had been very fast, but never been completely on the level to win races. Maybe not based on talent, but also you're not being in the right car at the right time. So he had 3 victories in 164 races. Good teams: Eros, Benetton, Williams, Ligier, and at last Jordan. So you see here one of the earlier Benettons with this very rainbow-like design, all colors: blue, red, yellow, green.
Yeah, United Colors of Benetton in one car.
Yeah, that's why this was the claim, and I think it's still the Benetton claim today.
Yeah, I think it is still what they're using.
And also, if you're interested in buying a plane, www.bautzen.com is the place for you.
Yes.
So here you get your personal or business plane. So everything from these small Cessnas until a bigger Airbus.
Yeah, and you know, this is not an advert. We're not paid by by Thierry, but yeah, I mean, you know, he
but
is.
He's watching. Of course, we would accept.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, yeah, what I wanted to say that yes, he's in business of selling private corporate aircraft.
Yep.
And yeah, it's a successful business. I mean, he's worth quite a lot, quite a lot of money.
But besides this, I mean, he always kept his relations with racing, had been active in the sports cars 24 hours of Le Mans, and has with his brother-in-law also a racing team in the Le Mans series. And besides in other smaller categories too. This from Thierry we come to Paolo. And this is, I think, a little bit a different topic, because if you see his name, Paolo Parilla, you may think where he's coming from, as Parilla pasta, I think you find all over the world as, I think, the most famous pasta brand.
That's right.
So he is from this famous Barilla family, and I think thanks to this money, he made it into Formula One, as he was clearly paid drivers. I mean, with this, I not want to say that he was not talented, but maybe not on the same level as somebody as Reutemann, Niki Lauda, or Thierry Bautzen.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, but at the same time, he just always looked good. He's just like one of the most handsome drivers ever. And you will also see him now in kind of an older age, and he still looks good.
yes, and especially and not to take anything away from that. It also helps to understand that he's now the deputy chairman of the Barilla Group company, which has a net worth of 1.1 billion US dollar. So pasta, I mean, the typical Italian product, so place of birth, Milan, Italy, and he had been also driver for 100% Italian team Minardi, where he had 15 entries.
Yeah, so and obviously we all, if you remember him, you would remember him in Minardi.
Yeah.
And he got an opportunity because someone left, right?
Yes, Pierluigi Martini.
Yeah.
And Pierluigi Martini is not from the Martini family.
Yes,
If
that's right.
there's a, and honestly, I don't think there's a Martini family doing the Martinis. But this would be then the topic for another episode.
In search of Martini family, who actually are related to Martini Martini production. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, I mean, I think he was actually a very good driver, but the car wasn't. Obviously, we discussed Minardi team, and Minardi team is really great to grow talent, but I think the car wasn't there, and I think. For him, it probably, like while other people probably, just had Formula One at the time. I mean, he always had things to do. Right. And, it's kind of this opportunity cost when you're thinking, okay, will I drive for another year, or maybe I can just, go into business and be useful in a different way. And I mean, I can relate to that. I understand, the challenge. And I think, I mean, I can't say that, he, maybe if he stayed, he would have been, he would have succeeded. But, it's just, I don't think he wasn't ever under pressure to remain in Formula One. He could do other things.
Right, but let's say besides his background, he has a very traditional career. Started winning the Italian kart championship in 1975. Then he went to the local Fiat Abarth series, moved up to Formula 3. Then he had victories and finished third in the Italian championship. Then also he had been successful in 1985 at the 24 Hours of Le Mans with the Just Racing Porsche 956. So he has been talented. It's not that he only because of money made it into Formula One. So
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I remember him from Minardi team, and like I said, I mean, you know, he was very handsome and definitely talented guy. Yeah, it's a little bit a shame that he it was a very brief career in Formula One.
right. And speaking about the brief career, 1991, 2000, both times with the Minardi Ford team.
Yeah, and really, I mean, it's not really his fault because it's, I mean, you when you're not in a competitive car, there's not much you can do, even if you have a very good driver.
Exactly. But and I'm sure at some point we will do a special episode about Minardi. They really had been the first point of entry for various talented driver like Alessandro Nannini, and I think the most famous one, Fernando Alonso.
Well, here we go. There he is.
Exactly. And so this is him today, and I think it's from the official press photo from Parilla. He had been the CEO from 1990 to 2000, and he's also the president of the industrial associations. And and again, Barilla is the leading brand in pasta, so no surprise that he's also the elected president of the International Pasta Organization, IPO in 2016, chairman of the Italian Food Association, and committed to protecting the industry nationally and internationally. So he seems that he's quite integrated part of the Barilla family. And in the forefront of supporting not only pasta, but I think the well-known traditional Italian cuisine.
And notice still looking great on the picture. All right, here we go.
Okay, nothing to add to this. And we're coming to Pedro Paulo Faieros dos Santos Diniz.
Pedro Diniz. Yeah.
Diniz, also known as Pedro Diniz. And I think a little bit similar here because also he is from a very famous family related from the food sector in Brazil. Here we are speaking about the owners of the Pão de Açúcar supermarkets, which you find all over in Brazil and maybe also in some other South American countries, if I am correct. And also this family had a very close relation with the Italian not Olivetti, Parmalat company, and due to this he aimed a sponsorship from Parmalat, and of course Parmalat had been selling their dairy products in the Pão Açúcar supermarkets. Maybe also a great topic for one episode. Okay, so birth 1917, Sao Paulo, Brazilian, and he went to 40, Ligier, Arrows, and Sauber, and I think also for him is valid. Of course, he made it into Formula One via classical racing, Formula 4 championship, British Formula 3 championship, which I think is the strongest F3 series worldwide. And from there, he went to this 40 team and stayed in the smaller teams. So also here, yes, on the one hand, you had money, but also I think he had a certain level of talent. So it was not unsatisfied that he went there. So he had a reason to be in Formula One.
Yeah, I mean, and also the longevity. I mean, he made 98 almost 100 entries, so which is a good run.
Exactly. I mean, without talent and just with money, you don't stay for nearly 100 races in Formula One. And here you see him 1995, starting with Ford, then Ligier, errors, and at the end, Sauber, Petronas, and always together with his personal sponsor, Parmalat. And the same with Barilla. Also, he returned practically to his family business, not directly becoming the CEO, but he discovered, similar to Jolly Scheckter, his purpose in sustainable agriculture. He has his farm around 200 kilometers away from Sao Paulo. And here they are testing sustainable agricultures. And this is something which is known as the Toka Organic Farm, which you also can find on the internet if you are interested in Pedro Diniz and his actual business.
Yes, and I mean, definitely. I mean, this is kind of what surprised me, that quite a few drivers went into kind of sustainability. I mean, and that's quite again, that's just quite difficult business to manage, because you know, if you're just kind of selling something, that's a lot easier than growing, you know, and sustaining a farm, a farm that is sort of done with this level of attention and ethics.
Yeah, correct. But on the other hand, it would be sort of different than with Jolly Scheckter, as Pedro Diniz at least has this family background, so he had the resources, also the inside the company, which are skilled in sustainability, which support this. So again, if you are interested, you can go to this website, and it's in Portuguese, but it also has an English version.
Yeah, and if you obviously many of you know that the Brazil suffers from deforestation, and I mean, this business talk, they also invest into kind of redevelopment of forestry, and it's all you know, really tackling the climate change problems in Brazil, not just you know, sustainable farming and doing business that way, but they also do a fair amount of charity and really invest into these sustainable futures in terms of, you know, greenery and anti-climate change initiatives.
Right, it's not only a farm, but as you see on this slide, it also includes an institute. So where really people are thinking about this topic, and I think they are also in contact with universities. So it's also a think tank regarding how to attack climate change. And from Paulo, we come to Eddie. And as I've mentioned at the beginning, there's one person who surprised me. And honestly, I would never have thought to find Eddie Irvine in this episode, because I remember him, he was always in the press, practically as the last playboy in Formula One, practically at each weekend with a different model. So he would have never thought that he's...
Not much has changed, I want to say. He's like the Donald Trump of the Formula One, apart from perhaps he looks better, obviously. I mean, no disrespect to Eddie Irvine, but yeah, I mean, but technically speaking, that's that's what it is. I mean, very similar business and attitude.
Yeah, but I have of course to comment here before we get any hundreds of comments on the video. Eddie Irvine, he is also an Instagram channel, so he's very outspoken against Trump on his Instagram channel.
No, I don't mean that he. Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
let me
I
rephrase that.
understand.
It's not. I don't mean that they're the same. Don't get me wrong, or politically the same. I'm just saying. Well, it's kind of like this real estate type of kind of family, and here we have kind of also the same. This also the like you said, I mean, being a playboy and having kind of different models every day. So I can see some similarities.
Yeah, but let's say Irvine also, I remember he had been reported being drunk in pubs. So here you already see a little bit the difference. So anyway,
Yeah.
Irvine had been my surprise to find him in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, like I said, he runs a very successful real estate company. He's worth a lot of money. I'm not sure exactly how much, but maybe we have it on the slide.
I'll check if you have it here. But anyway, just to resume, born 1975 in Newtown, it's county town in Northern Ireland. So he's British. He started, Jordan, of course, famously had been the second driver beside Michael Schumacher for many, many years at Ferrari, and then finished his career at Jaguar, which already mentioned with Niki Lauda wasn't that competitive at that time. Nevertheless, 148 entries and 4 victories, which you can see here in detail.
That's right. He even was second in 1999. So yeah, I mean, he's a very talented driver. And yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. Look, the Playboy style didn't go anywhere. So it's just kind of still the same.
That's
Yeah.
right. So nevertheless, it was quite surprising for me to find out that he was already a millionaire through property investment even before he joined Formula One. So
That's
he has
right.
a multi-million pound property portfolio with around 40 properties worldwide, listed as the 5th richest person in Northern Ireland back in 2006. And at that time, his personal fortune was estimated to be approximately 160 million pounds. And so he has a real estate, but also he owned at some point sports bars offering snooker, pool, kart racing, paintball.
Yeah, everything that accompanies luxury property investment. I mean, I'm sure that there is probably golf club somewhere in that portfolio.
Yeah, but on the other hand, if you see snooker or pool, karting, so it's not, it's for everybody. It's not only for the rich, but let's say for the medium, even lower classes.
Well, I
So
don't
it's
know.
quite
Probably karting is not something that average person can afford. But look, I mean, I think he's a very successful businessman, and definitely, you
yeah,
know, we can say unlike Trump, he actually increased the fortune
yeah,
over the years, and
definitely.
yeah, and but yeah, I mean, considering this kind of this rock and roll personality, I think he kind of stayed consistently the same over the years. Yeah,
Yes, and, with rock and roll, you have a great point coming to the next one. And honestly, this also came by surprise as I hadn't known this. We are speaking about Jack Villeneuve, another champion with 11 victories, active for Williams, British American Racing, Renault, and finished his career at Sauber.
yeah, yeah. Jacques Villeneuve. I mean, also the legendary driver. That He's
some kind of
a son of Gilles Villeneuve, about whom we recently talked when we discussed the 1980s.
Yeah, he had, I think, his driving style, but in opposite to Gilles Villeneuve, who was very easygoing. Jacques Villeneuve also always, I mean, yeah, he's also easygoing, but also known always as a rebel, sometimes putting on very direct comments, which not are always appreciated by everybody. But I think this is why people like Jacques Villeneuve, and he had a quite long career.
Yeah, and was a big star at Williams' team, and this is probably how many people remember Williams by this 1997 win by Jacques Villeneuve.
Yeah. And a little bit of similarity to Emerson Fittipaldi. I mean, he had been involved in the management of British-American racing, and so they practically was like a co-founder, and this project really
killed his career.
Yeah,
pretty much. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, the reason why we include him here, and this was the second time that I found out something new in the investigation. He did an album, but also here we have to say it was lacking a bigger success. It only sold 233 times in Quebec, and in all North America, 836. And if you maybe search around a little bit on YouTube, you may find some videos and may understand why it didn't have bigger success, to say that way. I mean, it's even one of the albums which are not even on Spotify. So you can see here on the screen, it is on Spotify listed, but you cannot play it, as for some reason they don't have the rights or whatever.
Yeah, because it's an independent. I mean, if you obviously if you was a larger company like MGM or Sony or someone else, then obviously you would be everywhere. But here, if he did a private album, then that means that it can only be accessible via Spotify if he puts it there, and if he didn't, then it's just not gonna be there.
Right. So speaking about publishing independent albums on Spotify, Spotify normally makes it very easy to use. So if you have the rights to your songs, you can directly or via a third party.
Yeah, but maybe he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, maybe he has good reasons not to do it, to be honest.
I mean, there are artists who don't want to be, to be much in the public eye, so they do some kind of, I don't know, private exhibit, and then that's it. It's, he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to, right?
I mean, but normally Jacques Villeneuve was not really the person who wanted to shy away from the public eye. But anyway, if you're interested, if you're searching a little bit on YouTube, I think you can find some videos.
Yeah, but look, I mean, that could be different, right? So he might not be shy when we're talking about driving, but maybe with singing he has a lot less confidence. And considering that this album had negative reviews, it probably kills your confidence even more. And sometimes I wish critics were more sort of forgiving, especially considering that this is the first album. And so you never know. Maybe he thought, oh, maybe I shouldn't do it again. And that's not necessarily the right thing. Maybe you just need to keep trying, right?
Yeah. I mean, definitely he decided up to today not to do it again because it stayed his only album, due to my knowledge. And I mean, judge yourself. You can find it if you search a little bit on YouTube. And with Jacques, we're coming to somebody who is still active. nevertheless, we include him because
Yeah, when I have to say, when so Patrick usually drafts all the kind of material for the episodes, and when I saw this picture, I thought, did he retire? So I thought, wow, that's. So I went immediately, like, I searched. Maybe I missed something, but yeah, we're talking about Lewis Hamilton.
the reason why I suggested him to include this because I think all of us we can imagine him that after leaving Formula One, he could perfectly do something completely different because he already
Rap.
is doing.
My bet is rap. So.
Yeah, I mean, rap or fashion. I mean, he's already quite active with his clothes, and I mean, you always see it the Fridays when he comes first to the racetrack, having some quite a fancy clothes.
Yeah, but I
So
mean, sometimes, like, kind of not disrespect to Lewis Hamilton, but when he talks, he always talks about, the car is doing well and all that type of stuff. And then he dates these really amazing women. Like, he had, he dated several pop singers, right? He dated, I think, beauty queens and models and all that. And I just don't know, like, what do they have in common to talk about? Because, like, he doesn't. I mean, I'm sure that he's a great professional, but it just doesn't strike me as a very interesting person in, like, kind of private life. But maybe I'm wrong. Like, I just see him on TV, so I don't know.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, but in terms of business, yeah, he does a lot. I mean, he has a lot of things.
yes, and I mean, we don't know when he will retire. I mean, we are just 2023.
Well,
Season.
we know because I think he's just trying to
Oh,
surpass the Michael Schumacher's, seven championship wins. So I think when he wins the eighth championship, he will retire. That's my bet.
yeah. I just wanted to mention we are shortly before the Monaco Grand Prix, and the big rumor this week had been that Lewis Hamilton had an offer from Ferrari. So I was not completely following, so I don't know what is the latest status on that rumor. I personally cannot imagine that he would switch from Mercedes because he's so much involved into Mercedes. But I mean, you never know.
I think anything is possible. Well, I
Right.
mean, if you're Ferrari, you would definitely want to hire him, I guess. But
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Mercedes is up to today quite struggling in the first part of 2023. So you never know, but you see, he started 2007 and 2023. All these years, he had been powered by Mercedes, so he's really a Mercedes person. So I cannot see him, let's say, in his later part of career switching so extremely, going from Mercedes after that many years to Ferrari. But anyway, we will see.
We will see.
Okay. So you see, outside Formula One, he is quite active and also related music rap, as he performed under the pseudonym or XNDA. I'm sure this stands for something, but I have no clue what. So he participated at Christina Aguilera's song 2018 Pipe, which we also included in our data-driven mixtape. Look for it on Spotify. He had been executive producer of the 2018 documentary Game Changers, presenting plant-based eating for athletes. And due to my best knowledge, he is a vegan. And I think maybe the only of the actual Formula One drivers who is vegan. And I mean, this is continuous good results is a good example that you can also, based on a vegan diet perform on highest levels. Famously, he had been offered a part in the Top Gun movie Maverick, but he had declined due to his commitment. And if we can believe the Netflix series Drive to Survive, something which we regretted because that season was anyway not good, so he could have skipped some races and be a part of that quite successful movie.
Okay, I found what XNDA means. And, okay, I just want to apologize to everyone who is watching, but this is what it means, and I can't, it means xylophone nigga dick ass. That's what it is.
Interesting.
So
And-
yeah,
and-
so it's
yes.
just a good name for a rapper, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, this is something also worth mentioning. He's quite politically active, especially supporting the Black Lives Matters movement.
That's right, but at the same time, he it was also supporting and giving positive commentary about certain countries that have death penalty and human rights abuse going on. So yeah, I mean, he's quite a controversial. I mean, I'm looking forward when we're gonna actually talk about him. He's not that smooth at all, and yeah, I don't like I my apologies to all fans. I know that he has a big fan base, but at the same time, there are very interesting things about him, and not just positive things.
I mean, it's quite difficult. I mean, in general, for Formula One drivers, as we see the 2023 agenda, and the same is all the agendas. I mean, we have this practically since the beginning of Formula One. There have been always races in countries with dictators, with apartheid, and
No, but
with
it's one thing. No, it's one thing to just race there, and it's a different thing to go into the media and say good things, right? Yeah, so I mean, I'm again, no disrespect. Don't get me wrong, not disrespect to Lewis Hamilton. He definitely deserves respect for his achievement in sport. But I'm just saying that some things are quite controversial, right?
Yes, and I mean, Lewis Hamilton is a person with many, many fans and also a bigger number of haters. But I mean, honestly, in social media today, this is the case, I think, with all drivers, especially if you're successful.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not a hater of Lewis Hamilton. I just, I'm just saying,
That's
like,
what it is.
he's not all peaches and cream. So
So,
that's something to keep in mind.
exactly. But I mean, if you analyze, I think we can say this practically for most of the famous drivers. But anyway,
But
so
I was honestly, I was a big fan of him. Like when he started in 2007, I remember I really supported him, and even went to races and supported him, like in person. But yeah, my opinion changed over the years, I have to say. But we'll talk about it when we get to him, in the special. I totally understand that he deserves support for his achievement in sport, no doubt about that. I'm just
yeah,
saying, like and it kind of comes to this fact that, should we really get close to people who are good at, at what they do, right? And um, it's a person like that, I guess it's very easy to be quoted out of context. So I mean, I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, my opinion about him kind of changed over the years. Yeah.
okay. Now we are all curious about this episode, but let's see if we continue.
Yeah, maybe 1.5 people are curious about what happened, but I will talk about it when we get to Lewis Hamilton special. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah,
That's coming. That's not gonna come very soon. That's for sure.
right. And let's come back to our list. Again, he launched his closing line, Tommy X Louis, which I think he promotes not only at the New York Fashion Week, but also with using his own clothes when coming to the Grand Prix, which are clothes which I think not designed for everybody, as they are quite extravagant, if you may say so, and aligned with his vegan diet. He also launched a vegan restaurant, Meat Burger, and he is a joint owner of the National Football League's Denver Broncos here in the US. And I'm just thinking, was he also somebody discussing becoming a co-owner of a football team in the UK? I'm not completely sure if I don't mix him up here, or if it was really just the Denver Broncos. Anyway, he's doing thousands of things, so it's practically quite surprising that he's still a quite successful driver, because this should take a lot of time normally for a person, but so far he managed. He's still driving on the highest levels.
No, I think it's just there's a good group of advisors probably advising him on where to invest, and yeah, it's just a matter of, I guess, also quality of advice that he gets about investment and philanthropic activity and other things, which is great. You know, I mean, it's great to have diverse interests. So big round of applause to him for that.
Completely agreed. And then from Lewis Hamilton, not far, Nico Rosberg, the only person who bet him on the same car as he became the champion. Maybe you saw our last episode on Keke Rosberg. Of course, he's the son, so a German-Finnish driver, also mostly successful with Mercedes engines, or only with Mercedes engines, 206 entries, 23 victories, many seasons, near beating Lewis Hamilton, but in his last race, in his last year, he finished this task, and after this directly retired.
Yeah, and I mean, that probably is a good thing to do. And do something else. Yeah.
Yes. And with this, practically, we would close the circle to our first driver who said he should have retired after his first year, but we don't, because we still have somebody. And also, I have to update myself. He started with the Williams Cosworth, then had been driving the Toyota-powered Williams before he became, I think, most famous for driving with Mercedes. That's starting right. Also with Michael Schumacher.
That's right. And yeah, we all remember that.
Yep.
That was exciting.
Yep. And similar as his father, Keke, he has been quite good with managing, and he is quite strongly involved, especially with supporting startups related to sustainability. So, for example, he was part of the German version of Shark Tank called Höhle der Löwen, which we have in a lot of countries, where young entrepreneurs present their ideas to a team of 3 or 4 investors, and some of them invest into the business if they are lucky. Besides this, he's participating at the World Economic Forum, at the Green Tech Festival. I think he's one of the organizers, and the owner of 3 Vehicle Dynamics engineering company related car development. If you're interested, you can find the webpage also on the internet. And also he's very active on social media, including LinkedIn. So you can follow him on LinkedIn. And
I'm actually impressed, Patrick. I mean, this screenshot says that he's a second connection, so you know someone who who knows him.
Yes.
Wow, that's cool. And do you know this? What's this Rosberg X Racing? What's that? Is that karting or yeah,
I
or
think
luxury
he's
cars? I don't know what it
no.
is.
I think if I'm right, it's an electric car
Mm.
racing team. So I don't know if it's a Formula E, or I think they had been in Formula E or somewhere else. It's related his support to sustainable
Yeah,
technologies.
yeah. It's electric racing team committed to working together with Extreme E family to help shape a better tomorrow. Okay,
Yep.
interesting.
Yeah, so
Wow.
his big focus, similar to the other drivers, is really on sustainability.
Okay. And note, Patrick knows someone who actually is the first connection to Nico Rosberg, because that's what this page says. It's a LinkedIn
Right.
page.
I, I don't know if I can find out on LinkedIn who's this person.
Yeah, you can, because if it's a second, you can see who is the joint connection. Anyway.
I have to find it out. And with this, we're coming to Jaime Victor Alguacil Escudero from Spain. He was driving at Toro Rosso, 46 entries. Maybe not that well known as a driver, even if he was quite recent. And he had been 3 years,
Yeah, but
but
his
let's
dad
say,
is very famous motorcycling champion, right? Motorcycling driver. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
sorry.
Anyway, as cycling is not my big topic. Right. But he had been 3 years at Toro Rosso, so the second team from Red Bull. Toro Rosso is Italian for Red Bull. Now AlphaTauri, and before this it was the Nari team. So 3 years at a team, and we know Red Bull, they are quite fast with firing people if they not perform. So this is something which he reached 3 years at this team.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, Toro Rosso wasn't really a competitive car compared to Red Bull, let's just say. Yeah, so.
No,
Yeah,
it's
but.
practically their junior team, you may say
Mhm.
so. And why we have him here? Because after this, he got his own recording studio in Barcelona and is working as a DJ under his stage name Squire. And you can find his music also on Spotify. And of course, we have included him too in our data-driven playlist.
Yes, and I mean, he's actually a successful DJ.
Right.
And yeah, was headlining a few events, and not only in Spain, but elsewhere. So yeah, brilliant.
So, for example, he was in the famous Club Amnesia in Ibiza. So, in this type of music, he's really quite successful. And this was the last one we have for today.
Yeah, so you will hopefully learned something new today, and
At least we did.
yeah. Well, we did in preparation to this episode. So we hope you enjoyed it, and we hope to see you next time with us. We are practically on all platforms. Again, our main platforms are YouTube and Spotify. And thanks to Patrick, we are present in the podcast format on many, many other platforms. So thank you for
Yeah,
watching.
thanks. And
Obviously, put some comments, and today, I mean, I probably said a few controversial things as well, and but you can disagree with me. It's always also interesting to hear. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you
of
next
course,
time.
I mean, we are including here our personal opinions, and these are our own opinions, and of course, other people can have other opinions. So just my last comment, if you have Spotify, you can find here our video podcast, but also we have there our music playlists. So there we included songs which are somehow directly related to Formula One, including the last example.
Yeah, that's brilliant, and thanks, Patrick, for doing this. This is really amazing. All right,
Thanks.
with that, yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.
See you next time. Bye bye.